Section 1. You will hear a man phoning a shipping company to ask about its services. First, you have some time to look at questions 1 to 6 on page 2. Now we shall begin. You should answer the questions as you listen because you will not hear the recording a second time. Listen carefully and answer questions 1 to 6.
Hello, Move It Shipping.
Hi, I'd like a few more details about your services, please.
Certainly.
I've been on your website looking into sending some things abroad when I go away to study next term. I see that you provide special empty boxes so that I can pack them myself and you then transport them.
That's right. We provide those free of charge.
And can I ask what goods you can transport? Like, do you take electrical goods?
Well, it depends. If you've got something like a computer, that's fine. But things like washing machines and fridges are too heavy and bulky for our service.
No, I wouldn't be taking that sort of stuff.
You can always check with us if there's anything you're not sure about including.
I was wondering about my bicycle. I suppose that'd be too bulky.
No, that's fine, though we wouldn't be able to take a motorbike.
Sure. Is there anything else you don't take?
Well, basically, the service is restricted to what one man can lift, so 40 kilograms is the maximum for each package. We do have a list of particular things we can't transport on our website, but I'll tell you the main points. So, in order to comply with security regulations, we don't take any sort of liquids, and we also don't accept any type of foods. And if you provide your own containers, rather than using ours, we only allow certain types.
So, can I use cardboard containers?
Yes, they're okay if they're strong enough, but we won't carry things that have been packed in plastic containers. They crack and break so easily that our policy is simply not to take them.
Okay, fine. And once I've packed everything, you can collect my things from my home and deliver them to wherever I live abroad. Is that right?
Yes, and we do have some special services. For example, we can make special arrangements to deliver on Saturdays if that's more convenient for you. Or if you're in a hurry, we have an express delivery option. There's a surcharge for these services, of course, but it's very reasonable.
Okay, I'll keep that in mind. And what happens if the delivery can't be made for some reason? Like if I haven't finalised my accommodation? Can you keep my stuff for me for a few days?
Yes, we can arrange storage, though again there would be an extra charge for that.
Sure.
Before you hear the rest of the conversation, you have some time to look at questions 7 to 10 on page 2. Now listen and answer questions 7 to 10.
And can you give me an idea of your prices?
Of course. Roughly how much would you want transported?
Say, for example, I had 15 boxes, and I've also got a violin. That would need packing with special care, I think.
OK. And it would be collection in the UK?
Yes. And Sweden would be the destination.
OK. I'll do a quick calculation. Let me just get that up on the screen. 15 boxes and one special package. Let's see. It'd be something in the order of £575.
Right. And how would I pay that?
Well, you can pay by debit or credit card over the phone, or if you prefer to pay in cash, you can just give it to the driver when he arrives to collect your belongings, and he'll give you a receipt.
Fine.
And at the same time, you'll need to hand over some documentation, so you'll need a copy of your passport.
A photocopy?
That's right. So make sure you get that done in advance and have it ready with you. Then there are also some papers you'll need that we'll send you in advance so that you can get them completed in good time. The most important ones are the insurance documents, so you need to have filled in all the...
That is the end of Section 1. You now have half a minute to check your answers. Part 2. You will hear part of a radio travel program about a tourist resort called Stanley Island. First, you have some time to look at questions 11 to 15. Now listen carefully and answer questions 11 to 15.
Welcome once again to the show where we give you travel tips on popular tourist destinations in the Pacific region. And today, our focus is on beautiful Stanley Island. Now, before we get started, a word of warning. The seaplane service to the island was discontinued last week, so for the next month at least, the sole link to the island is provided by the old ferry service, since plans to run a hovercraft service to the island have been delayed. So what is there to see and do on Stanley Island? Well, the main tourist areas are on the north, south and east coasts of the island. As far as recreation goes, in the south you'll find several leisure parklands such as Waterworld and Fantasy Island, which seem well equipped and reasonably priced. If it's golf you're after, the 18-hole course in the south of the island is currently being turned into a conference centre. But don't despair, there are 2 excellent courses just 30 minutes away on the east coast. The south of the island has many large resorts and hotels, with plenty of children's activities and clubs. This part of the island caters mainly for those seeking luxury to medium-class accommodation, but the east coast has basic apartment complexes with fully equipped kitchens, so that at least you can cook for yourself. For those who like to get back to nature, you'll probably find the south coast rather overdeveloped. The rainforest areas on the west coast are largely inaccessible because of the surrounding mountains, but those on the north coast are within easy reach, and a local agency runs guided treks through the jungle. If you're into water sports, all of the areas have something to offer.
Before you hear the rest of the program, you have some time to look at questions 16 to 20. Now listen and answer questions 16 to 20.
Now, here are a few bits of advice for those visiting the island for the first time, to make your stay safer and more enjoyable. The island is generally safe, but it's as well to take a few precautions. If you're on any medication, bring this with you. It may not be available on the island. And it's also a good idea for everyone to pack some insect spray in their luggage. If you're thinking of going into the more mountainous region in the west of the island, let someone know where you're going. And remember, The reception for your mobile phone may be unreliable, so don't depend on that. Take your own water. Don't drink out of rivers. You're likely to come across lots of monkeys. They're cute, but watch out, as they can bite. Finally, when you're back in the more inhabited areas, take a break from steak and do try the local seafood. It's fresh and very good value.
That is the end of Part 2. You now have 45 seconds to check your answers to Part 2.
Part 3. You will hear a discussion between two students about taking a course to become a personal support worker. First, you have some time to look at questions 21 to 24. Now listen carefully and answer questions 21 to 24.
Becky, hi. What are you doing here at the college?
Hi, Jason. Just using the library. What about you?
I'm taking the PSW program. You know, personal support worker.
You're kidding. I've just qualified as a PSW.
Really? I'd love to talk to you about the program.
Okay. Well, first off, the main duties they taught me here were exactly what I needed on the job.
You mean like bathing and dressing people?
Yes, young and old need this. You'll work with people of all ages, from young people with disabilities to seniors. But, you know, nothing really prepares you for how alone many people are. They crave conversation. And I don't mind chatting with them while I work, though that's not officially in my job description.
I think I'd like to focus on seniors' care. And with the country's older population growing, maybe I'll get a job fast. Do we have to be responsible for any medications?
No, that's not for us to do. And while you will prepare meals, you won't feed people. But working to keep clients healthy and able to live on their own without risk as long as possible is always the goal. And we're recognizing that with lifespans increasing, long-term care facilities won't be able to keep up with the number of people who will need care.
I almost didn't meet the requirements for entry into the PSW program. I was one course short getting my high school diploma, so I had to go back to summer school. I took science because I'm no good at math. Oh, and speaking of not getting in, having my first aid certificate was a real piece of luck. I would have been turned down without that, too.
And I would have had a problem with immunizations, except that I traveled the year before, and when the doctor checked my records, they were up to date. I also had to hand in a written essay on why I wanted to be a PSW.
Before you hear the rest of the discussion, you have some time to look at questions 25 to 30. Now listen and answer questions 25 to 30.
So, Becky, what did you think about the courses you had to take in the personal support worker program?
Well, I used to think I got my points across pretty well with people until I took the Understanding is Essential course. For starters, it taught me how to express myself much more effectively. I also learned a lot about preparing clear reports for my supervisors and dealing in a better way with people in general, like giving facts without personal views. You'll find that you need those skills every single day.
I'm enjoying the Foundations course. I'm taking it now and I'm getting a lot out of it. Because support workers are a newer level of care in the province, I think we absolutely have to understand how we fit into the overall system. It's a great place to voice your opinions freely. Some are quite personal. Did you have to take a course called The Way We Work? I didn't know psychology was part of the program.
That course was a favorite of mine, but it's probably not what you're thinking, Jason. It's about what happens on the inside of the body and covers the functions that keep our bodies operating well. Even if you're not a PSW, the course is really interesting. I learned so much.
What do you think about residence care? I know the thinking now is that long-term care facilities aren't the answer for our aging population.
Right. And so this course zeroes in on the changes people can make to their homes so they can stay there, like installing higher toilets, for example. You'll also learn about specialized equipment people can get to help themselves, safety bars for the shower and so on.
Do any of the courses focus on the families of our clients? After all, any kind of illness or disability affects everybody.
So true. And yes, there is one. It's called Dynamics. You usually get that in your last term. You'll learn different strategies to help relieve some of the anxiety and strain that happens within the family. I got a lot out of that course. It's the only one that focuses on emotions rather than facts. I think giving people this kind of help is just as valuable as any kind of expensive equipment they buy to help themselves.
The course I'm really looking forward to is The Power Within.
Oh, it's terrific. Getting old has quite an impact on the mind, as you know, but you'll be taught ways to help clients keep the mind active so they're not so forgetful. You'd be surprised how much improvement you can see in clients when you apply these methods.
That is the end of Part 3. You now have 30 seconds to check your answers to Part 3.
Part 4. You will hear part of a biology lecture about an animal called the African clawed frog. First, you have some time to look at questions 31 to 40. Now listen carefully and answer questions 31 to 40.
Today, I'd like to look at another type of amphibian, the African clawed frog, whose Latin name is Xenopus laevis. Its name is derived from the 3 short claws on each hind foot, which it uses to tear apart its food. The Latin word Xenopus means strange foot, and laevis means smooth. I'll start with a general description. The African clawed frog is a species of frog that can be commonly found in the eastern and southern parts of Africa. They have a flattened head and body, but no tongue or external ears. As the Latin name suggests, African clawed frogs have smooth skin, unlike the toad, whose skin always has a rough texture. The body of African clawed frogs is covered with mucus, which can give their sensitive skin protection, thus playing an indispensable role in their survival. Male and female African clawed frogs can be easily distinguished through several characteristics, and the major one is their size. Generally, Male frogs are about half as big as females. Specifically, female frogs are usually 4.5 inches long, weighing around 7 ounces, while males are generally 2.5 inches long and 2 ounces heavy. Then, let's turn to their habitats. African clawed frogs are entirely aquatic frogs, so they live in water all their life, whether they are tadpoles or adult frogs. Although they can live in a wide range of freshwater environments, they particularly like still water instead of fast-flowing streams. During the summer, African clawed frogs are mainly found in warm rivers, and during the rainy season, they tend to move into flooded forests. In the wild, African clawed frogs are highly adaptable to changes in the environment around them, whether in oases or glacier-covered lakes. Besides, they can even survive in water with high salt levels. It is because African clawed frogs have a unique physiological mechanism in their body that could automatically regulate the balance of water inside and outside their body. In dry weather, African clawed frogs always burrow themselves into mud, where they can survive for more than a year. They are incredibly hardy and long-lived, with an average lifespan of 5 to 15 years. Some are even recorded to have lived for 20 to 25 years. However, African clawed frogs are susceptible to the pollution of the water, even though they are not listed as endangered species. Now let's talk about the diet of African clawed frogs. They are carnivores that like hunting insects, spiders, worms, fish, etc. African clawed frogs depend on the sense of smell to detect their prey. They first use the claws on their hind feet to tear pieces of ample food. Then the front feet, which are not webbed, play an important role in feeding. African clawed frogs use their front feet to push food into their mouths, and meanwhile a distinctive pump system is used to draw or suck food in their mouths. So we can see African clawed frogs are voracious predators and can quickly adapt to many habitats. Therefore, in some parts of the world, African clawed frogs act like invasive species, which will negatively affect other species in the freshwater ecosystems. The evidence shows that they have devastated the populations of native frogs and other creatures by eating their young. As a result, African clawed frogs are illegal to own, transport, or sell without any permit in some states of America, like California, Washington, Arizona, etc., where African clawed frogs have been seen as a type of pest. However, it's legal to own African clawed frogs in Canada. But not many people know that African clawed frogs are also used in medicine. As we mentioned before, the skin of African clawed frogs is covered with mucus, which has properties of antibiotic. This chemical can help kill bacteria and cure the infection, and is widely used by both the medical profession and the general public. So we shouldn't ignore the medical value of African clawed frogs.
That is the end of Part 4. You now have 1 minute to check your answers to Part 4.